ready, Frank?
Yes, sir.
All right, to open up the meeting, the President of the Council did ask if she could present to us something that she's been working on, so I'll turn it over to you, President Massillon.
Yes, Mr. Dewald, who gave us the quote on the new sound system.
Microphone.
Mr. Dewald, who gave us the quotes on the new sound system, is here to explain his two quotes and to answer any questions. So if no one has a problem, I'd like to ask him to come up front and talk to us. Thank you, Billy. There's a mic up there. You bringing a spare?
That's just a show and tell.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Bill Dewald. I'm representing Unitech over Canton. My good friend Rick Gattuso, I don't know if any of you know him, but he has a company, he operates a music store on Market Avenue. He also has a company called Unitech. They primarily build cases for tubas, believe it or not, sell them all over the country. They also do a lot of sound work. I've done sound work all my life, actually. And we had a situation the other day where the system that we're using right here and now was giving us some problems. We came down and tried to make some adjustments, tried to make it work as well as it could work. But we determined that there were some problems. Some of the problems are relative to the fact that it's a network system, and sometimes, like all computerized stuff, it takes a notion and just does its own thing. It has, I guess, I've not been here any time when that's happened, but I guess at times it will just stop working. But fortunately, the recording still is working. But that's the kind of thing where it's difficult. It actually is working properly. It's just, I think it went to market before it was quite ready to the Bosch company. Actually, I think as near as I can determine by researching this product, they subbed this through another company in Germany and Austria called AKG. And they make some good products. I think this is a kind of new effort for them, and it has some glitches in it. So we were asked what we would recommend, and what we came up with was to kind of take a step backwards, actually, and use a just more of like a standard mic mixer kind of a thing like you would have in a school or a church or something like that. We'd be using a digital mixer that has automatic functions on it where you could either leave your mic on or turn it off. And if you're speaking, the mixer knows you're speaking and it goes to your microphone. All the other mics are pushed down. It's called AutoMix, and it works very well. We feel that that would be a better option because it's just more straightforward. It's a bunch of microphones going into a common mixer with some automatic functions, and that then would be produced out of speakers for the console. It would be speakers above your head that you would hear the audio. You would no longer hear the sound coming from the base of the microphone. It would come from above, possibly back there if the central speaker wouldn't carry the entire room. The quality of the audio would be considerably better. And that's kind of the main thing, is that these tiny little speakers and amplifiers that are in this mic base, you can hear fine, but it's difficult to understand. The intelligibility is not quite what it could be. And it's just a design problem. We were talking about doing it a bit differently. There are two quotes here, and the main difference between the quotes is the first one will use four 4-inch speakers, not too different than what you might put on your back patio or something like that, just a little white, small speaker that would be positioned on all four sides of the skylight up there to try to keep it looking symmetrical. And that is the least cost option that we're looking at. There are some vagueness to this quote. If you look down, there's not as many manufacturer part numbers and that kind of thing as you might normally see. And that is because the supply chain problems right now are significant. It's very difficult to get certain things. So we're trying to be somewhat vague on purpose because we're not exactly sure you can get a certain model of a certain speaker, for instance. So we feel safe that we can get everything that's on the quote. We're not exactly sure what manufacturer that might come from. We would get, like the speakers, for instance, could be possibly QSC or JBL, possibly Atlas Sound. All good manufacturers, good solid product, but we just don't know what we can get in a particular week. You probably all have seen some problems in the supply chain. The mixer we have, it'd be a microphone that would look just like this, very similar to what you have, except there's just one button that you touch and it turns it on. If you just leave it on, the mixer will take care of it. If you turn it off, you will have to remember to turn it on before you speak. But if you have something private you want to talk about, it is possible to silence that so that it can't be heard. Let's see. The second quote is the main difference is we're proposing, and I brought up a picture, I don't know how much you can see, I pass this around if you'd like to see it. This is from a company down in Georgia called Danley Sound Labs, and they just make absolutely wonderful product. These things are so clear, so clean, so far above. In fact, there are some people that use the Danley products in like recording studios for like monitoring during mixing and that kind of thing. They're that good. This would not necessarily be like really loud or anything. We're not talking about doing a DJ gig or anything like that. It's all about clarity. The Danley people just do a fantastic job. And you're welcome to, I think the Danley name is on here. No, it's not. It's just the one name. Yeah, Danley, just like you would spell, just like anything. And you can research that yourself. They have a really nice website that shows some of the products that they have, that they're extremely well respected. Manufactured in Georgia, so the supply chain issues don't exist for that. The main thing there is that this would be in white instead of the black one they have in the picture. I couldn't find a picture of one of the white ones. It would hang in this area behind the skylight that would cover the entire room and probably be quite adequate. I know we were experimenting down here with something. It was a couple of steps down from this in quality, but I think we had it kind of temporarily sitting up here. It sounded pretty good. The room, you're lucky because the room sounds good. This is a well-designed room as far as for this type of purpose. So I feel confident that that would work well. That would run pretty much forever. I will no longer be here when it fails. I can pretty much guarantee that because it's a really top-notch product. So, and that's the difference in the two quotes. The one quote has 4 basically good quality patio speakers, little white boxes, in a kind of a 4-way arrangement above there. The other one, this is a 180-degree dispersion, so pretty much everyone hears it. We'd also mount a small speaker on the back of this that would cover this area back in here. But real top-notch, first quality stuff. So that's kind of what we're proposing, yes, sir.
One question specifically, we can generally hear ourselves and what's going on here. Traditionally, the audience and the folks that are streaming us, little to nothing sometimes. Will they, even with the speakers back there, they were having difficulties? Do you think this will be able to compensate enough for that?
Okay, there's 2 issues there. I think if you're just picking up the sound out of the air, just like J.W. Russ right there, he has an iPhone and he's, or that may be an Android, I don't know. But he's picking up the sound out of the air, and he's picking up everything he's hearing on his phone there is off of all these individual speakers. In this case, it would be off of the one single speaker up there. The quality would be much better. that situation. Plus, as part of this project, we will be putting several press feeds in the back there that if they wish, they can tie into and get a direct feed off the system.
Oh, one parking lot.
So that's our intent.
Anyone else?
I would be happy to answer any questions. I know this gets very technical, and sometimes I kind of go over the top and try to over-explain things. I apologize to you. Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Would this affect the streaming sound? Would that be, because, you know, we still stream our sessions, not on camera, right? But, oh, just, okay. All right, so
That would, especially if they grab the press feed,
okay.
that would make a huge difference. The only problem is if someone doesn't turn their microphone on, you know, it is what it is.
Okay.
You won't be getting that, or you'll hear that person speaking off of someone else's microphone at a diminished level. We can't, there's almost no way that you can fix that. But with the automatic mixer, everyone could leave their mic on, and it wouldn't be a big issue. It would just, the mixer would take care of it. Wherever the loudest sound is coming from, it gives priority to that signal and takes all the other mics and sends them down right about 9 dB, which is significant. All mics are always on if they're on, but the person that's speaking gets priority. That's the way it sounds. It's a good system. It works very well.
Thank you for clarifying that. I've seen on conference calls and stuff like that, when, even though there's one that captures the speaker and even some of the background noise from the other people, why, again, maybe they're not using that quality of a mixer. Is 9 dB enough to not, you know, cause that jamming and clipping and all that other interference?
Usually.
Unless everybody's screaming and whatnot.
Yeah, if you get a shouting fest, it's gonna seem like a zoo, I think, and there's not much you can do about that. But under normal circumstances, it'll function very nicely. And there's gonna be some variance, and some people really get up on it and kind of force their way in. Some people will stay back, and it's gonna be, you get what you get. But there is processing built into the mixers and ways of controlling really, really loud stuff to kind of push it down. And there's no function in there to take something that's really soft and bring it up. You wouldn't want that anyways, because then you start getting into the problem that you're talking about. The functionality of it, it's called a Dugan style mixing or auto mixing. And it's being used all over the world for pretty serious applications. A lot of like podcasts and stuff like that use that kind of thing so that the other microphones that are being used are not turned off, but pushed down. And that it reacts very, very quickly. It's a pretty neat system. The mixer's from a German company called Midas. And once again, very well respected product.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes, thank you, President Eisnick. Just looking at the two different quotes, it appears option one, the labor is more expensive. Does that mean it's going to be more intense? Are you going to have to, you know, I don't know, do something with ceiling, hardwire something, and cosmetically fix things after you install this?
There's a little bit of that. Hanging four speakers just takes more labor than hanging one. It's really that simple. Other than that, it's very, very similar. That was why we were able to back off the labor, because just that single speaker up there, it basically covers the whole room. And we are hoping that we won't even need to use those hanging speakers in the back. We think from the test we ran the other day, we think that the single speaker will cover the room very nicely and it'll be quite adequate. Sound is one of those things where less is more. The fewest loudspeakers you can get away with, the better off you are. If you have to add additional, and once again, within the context of this quote, we have the ability to add that in without adding any additional cost speaker. We can't. It's just so much better. It's all about time of delivery. When your ear, the human ear is designed in such a way that you get your directional information from the first audio that comes to you first. And even in this situation here, you have these multiple speakers. You're getting most of your sound from the nearest one, but you're also hearing other speakers, and even maybe in the back of the room. And what happens is that there's a slight delay between that first presentation. I don't know if you've ever watched someone pound a nail on the other side of the street or something, but you can, when you see the hammer come down, the actual noise is delayed with lightning and thunder and that kind of thing. Sound is surprisingly slow. And even with speakers that are all this close, that delivery time, it causes a little bit of a lack of intelligibility because you're getting multiple sources all at the same time. And so if you do that with one single speaker, it just cleans it up a lot and makes it more intelligent.
We have the public going to that microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to be somehow connected to this system also, or
Yes.
will we get that replaced?
No, well, as of now, that microphone is really solid. It works well, and it's a current model and all that kind of thing. So we would typically use that. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work well and continue to work well. So right now, that would go into the mixer. It's an 18-channel mixer, 18 inputs. We have 12 up here, I believe, and then 13 if we added something back there. So the video display would be another input, and possibly something else, I don't know. But so there are plenty of inputs in the mixer without stressing it. We'll be using most of it, but not all of it. There's additional inputs if necessary in the future. And every one of those inputs can be put into that auto mix function if you wish. It doesn't have to be. You can give priority to certain microphones, that kind of thing. Different tiers of auto mixing. But once again, I've gotten too technical and gone too far. I apologize.
Anyone else? Councilman Sneak?
Thank you. Just real quick, what is the warranty on most of this, a year?
It would be manufacturer's warranty for sure, as far as any kind of failures. The tendency for this kind of thing, if something happens, say outside that warranty period, that would be unusual or not caused by someone abusing or something like that, our tendency is to continue to stand behind things and make it right. I don't have that in writing for you. That would be something Mr. Tuso would have to give you an agreement on. I'm just one of the installers and a Massillon guy that wants to help out. And we've done quite a few. We did Central Presbyterian, St. Joe's down here. I've done some work at the rec center down there. In fact, there's that same mixer that we're talking about is down at the rec center to divide off all those different areas. It ended up being the cheapest option for that to replace the piece of equipment that failed. So we went with that. And that's been working well. Where else? Women's Club, I did a system painted speakers to make them match the beautiful building there. It's just, some people go bowling. I do this kind of stuff.
Anyone else? Mr. Dewald was the teleproductions teacher at the high school for
31. Was with the district for 32 years. Not teaching all that time, but
yeah, so he's quite qualified. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know Mr. Lombardi had some questions. Perhaps I could hook you two up so you can answer any of his
I'd
questions.
be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, if you decide to go a different direction and you have trouble working through a quote or something like that, or trying to figure out what all the gibberish is, if you do get a quote, I'd be happy to. I'm really trying to soft sell this. This is not something we're trying to push you into anything. It's just I really feel this would be a good ad and it would give you a lot of longevity. But I just would like to see you not spend money that's unnecessary. Okay?
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Oh, President Jill, how old is our current system?
2017, I want to say maybe 15. I'd have to look up the bill.
Okay.
Yeah, about 17, right, sounds about right. Because Paul Gates was still on. Right, community development.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I believe I have 3 requests for business that fall under old business. The first is review and approval of the proposed community development block grant program budget for the 2022 program year. I believe we did have Ms. Samantha Walters speak in regards to this previously. Does anyone have any additional questions for anyone? So this will be second read, I believe, right, Mr. Lewis? You'll receive the first read. So that's the first item. The second item business is prepare a resolution reversing the decision of the Massillon Zoning Board of Appeals made on April 28, 2022, denying a variance case number 2022-5 from the Massillon Zoning Code to relocate an existing 16 by 24 foot detached garage to the front yard located at 1629 Tremont Avenue, Southwest Massillon 5. I believe speaking with Mr. Dave Maybe prior to this meeting that there's been some type of compromise with this request. Mr. Maybe, do you want to come up and just... So Jim Johnson will be here at Monday's meeting.
Good evening. Yes, based on the discussions that were had last week, they had said that they had an idea for a compromise. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but they have talked with the people with the shed, have talked with code enforcement. From my understanding, they were willing to agree upon what they were presenting. So he was planning on coming or sending something to council, letting council know that there was some agreement worked out.
So more to come on that. So based on Mr. Johnson's discussion with us, we may be voting this down if there has been a compromise.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Any questions from anyone? And Mr. Manning, just stay right up there. Also, the third piece, it was a request that was pulled from the agenda at Monday's meeting. It is Planning Commission recommendation rezoning request. At the June 8, 2022 meeting, the City Planning Commission recommended the approval of the following parcel 1001138 located at 3725 Erie Avenue Southwest. The acreage to be rezoned is 9.1 acres of the above lot parcel from B3 General Business District to I1 Light Industrial. The purpose of the rezoning is to allow for a self-storage facility. Mr. Maley, would you like to go into detail regarding this?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, this is basically it's just a declaration of a covenant. As you know, we've done these in the past with the Kmart site for the storage facility, and then there was another one up on Erie Street that we did. And all this does is limit the use of the ground zoning to basically it talks about controlled outdoor some other type of I-1 use, it limits the use under this covenant for that specific purpose. When we talked, I talked with Bill Parkins, our chief counsel, and it was our thought that we should probably do this the same as we did with Kmart, limiting the use up there. Spoke with Representative from Menards, they were fine with that. They were actually thought it would actually help them to a degree. So they presented, I sent over some language they drafted up this. I know that we might have a few other minor changes to it, but this is basically what it's going to look like.
This will be Exhibit C.
Correct, down there. And I did, that's why we had the legislation pulled, so that we could just have everything put together once for next Monday's meeting.
Are there any questions from any committee members or council? All right, thank you, Mr. Rainey. That's all I have, Mr. Lewis.
Economic development. Health, welfare, building regulation.
I have nothing to see.
Parks and Rec.
I have nothing this evening.
Police and fire. Public utilities.
Nothing for public utilities this evening?
Rules and courts.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I do have one old item we discussed last week, ordinance number 91-2022, an ordinance enacting Rule 25.2 of the Rules of Massillon City Council is codified in Section 121.02 Rules of Council. Council of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Massillon, Ohio. This was proposed by Mr. Hermking. He's not here this evening. And this does not have emergency language on it, something I think we can continue to discuss. I do still have some questions for Mr. Hermking, so we'll talk about it next meeting. The other item I have is a new item. Please prepare legislation to accept grant monies from Technology Grant Award from the Supreme Court of Ohio, Project ID 1319, in the amount of $25,052 to go to the Municipal Court Computer Fund, State Grant Line Item 1233-.125.4.1420. This is monies that's flowing through us to the Massillon Municipal Court for a grant that they sought and received. Pretty straightforward. Any questions regarding this? Concerns, discussion? I don't see any reason to delay this, so I put this on the agenda for Monday with the intention to pass it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Streets and highways.
Nothing to.
All right, that leaves us to the Finance Committee. The first piece I have here is the appropriation of the $25,052 tied to the grant that Mr. Gray just referenced from his committee. I'm signing to put it on there, and it would just carry on with that. We have another piece here. Please prepare an ordinance to appropriate the unappropriated balance of the summer concert fall fund, $22,000, and this is allowed for timely payment of payments and related expenses. These dollars are part of a fundraiser that keeps the summer concert series going, and we pass the funds through. I will sign and place on the agenda for Monday. And then please prepare an ordinance to appropriate the unappropriated balance of the general fund of the sum of $1,275 sponsorship programs. This is funds that have already been collected for the banners, the memorial banners for downtown. Do you know anything about this, Mr. Rainey? I'll put it on the agenda, but if you could just let the administration know, I thought we already did this once. So this is just a second collection of dollars. If they could just be prepared to confirm that. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? And then we have a transfer here, realign the 2022 budget to pay pro shop supplies through the end of the year. It's a reduction of services contracts at Legend by $4,500 and putting it into pro shop supplies. And that is all I have for finance. Mr.
pretty sure it was, but I wanted to make sure that I said you can check on the city website, but while I was here, I wanted to, so I will also let them know that, get ready for next year. Thank you.
Ms. Kramer?
Mr. Lewis, can you just review with me, in my absence of the last meeting regarding the salaries of the mayor and the auditor, can you give me the total dollar amounts for each position? I think I'm missing some information.
Yes, it was amended that the mayor is being proposed now at 84,000, and I believe the auditor is being proposed at 71,000, I believe, was the amendment that we made?
Yes.
Okay, and the increase,
Oh, yeah, then it would go to 90 at the next term for the mayor.
90,000?
Yeah, and 77 at the next term for the auditor.
How did we come up with those dollar amounts?
Not very much.
Yeah, I believe there's the original numbers. You reduced the original numbers to a lesser number to give a staged increase over time. So the next, so 90, it would be 84 in 2024 and 90 in 2028, or 71 and 77 if you're looking at the audit, is what his proposal is. And I believe Ms. Lombardi did that in order to try to meet the concerns of council members and be compromised. But obviously I'm speaking for him and not him speaking. So.
Thank you.
Ms. Smith?
I think he also said that after 2028, it would be cost of living adjustments. So we don't go another 15, 20 years without a raise.
And I guess that was kind of my reasoning of those questioning, from that compromise of the dollar amount for 2024, what the justification was for the 2028 salaries. How we justified that large increase in one term. Just trying to justify these $6,000 raises in one term. I'm not in favor of that, but I wanted to at least get a better understanding.
I would say it's probably just in the spirit of compromise and that, just trying to meet people where they are and listen, because Mr. Lombardi still believes it should be 90 in 2024. So he's trying to meet people where they are and make it more palatable, I guess. Mr. Perry?
Again, the original proposition was 100 and 24. We backed off to 90, and there's still a lot of pushback. So every year we're fading in the pack. Our salary, our mayoral salary is the gap is increasing from all the communities around us, all the comparable moves we had across the state. So in order to get something moving again, we said that, we have to try to move forward in some, even small increment. So that's the reason over 8 years, we still only have a partial increase. So after those 8 years, it'll be interesting to see how far that gap has expanded again. So I just think, I firmly believe that we have to be competitive. We have to show good faith in the people that we're seeking this type of an office in the city of our size and magnitude, their pay is justified. We're not going to attract
3% of 84,000 is about $2,500. And if the mayor were to get 4 years at 3%, that would actually be a $10,000 raise over the course of 4 years, not 6. So this is actually cheaper than just doing a 3, 3, 3, 3, a 4 years at 3. So it sounds like a lot, but it's probably closer to 2% a year.
And look what the union are getting. Wait.
All right. Mr. Sneed.
Counterpoint, respectfully, some of the specs I still disagree with. Provided the independent study saying we're middle of the road. So I believe that we're getting a bang for our buck, and I'm still not sure what qualifications this is supposed to attract, which has been brought up. What qualifications are we looking for that we're not getting? I think it's a prudent question nobody's asked yet.
True administrative executives and people that have, we need business in our town, in our city. We've lost hundreds of jobs over the last several years, and the last couple of decades, from the industries moving out of here. There's things that we need to produce here, sell someplace else, bring money back here. That's what grows a community.
Sure.
It's wonderful we have hundreds of mom and pop stores, but that money just circles around. That's not growing the city. We need somebody that knows how to aggressively seek these positions, seek these businesses, and bring them here, keep them here.
So we need a headhunter. Or
You can put it that way, I suppose, yeah. I mean,
or Chamber of Commerce maybe, somehow.
someone who
To
has that
enable
experience,
that.
those contacts, that fortitude to be able to get that kind of job done.
Thank you.
Do we have land to bring in more business?
Yeah.
You know, how much, you know, acres, what is our total number of open acreage that we can bring large businesses into this country, into this city? Do we have that figure regarding open acreage for business to come into the city? Or are we landlocked right now?
We're not landlocked, we have land, I don't know how much.
Exactly.
The city itself might not own. I mean, that's the debate, and that's where we're getting kind of into the weeds of not necessarily relevant issue, right? The MDF is gonna, the Massillon Development Foundation is gonna have the access to the land that they are able to sell off to developers in order to produce things. That's why we have the commercial park right off the Route 30 there. That was all MDF development. So to say that we're gonna have a mayor that's gonna develop all that isn't the full story, because the mayor may not have the land in which to do it. They would have to work in conjunction with MDF and the Chamber of Commerce. But to the point that they're making, I'm in the middle of the road on this whole debate. I'm just trying to navigate both sides. To the point that Mr. Ferrick and Mr. Lombardi are making, and then you look at the structure of what other government entities and nonprofits in our area are doing. Right now we have a city school district that pays their superintendent twice that of what the mayor pays for the same city. So that just tells you a little bit of a contrast there. And I'm not exaggerating, he makes twice than what the mayor does. So, and we have people in the city that are at middle high or higher management levels that are exceeding the mayor.
Yeah.
So that does make it a challenge, I think, in some regards. Does that mean the mayor needs to be making 6 figures? I totally disagree with that altogether, but putting in a comprehensive plan that would allow the pay to be somewhat adjusted is not awful. And I think the reason we have some of the lag is because the mayor can only receive a raise once every 4 years. So while other people around us in jobs all across the community are able to negotiate for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4% raises on an annual basis, an elected official such as the mayor cannot do that. They're only stuck to getting 1 raise every 4 years, which naturally puts them behind the ball. So occasionally you have to give a raise that might seem a little high, but knowing over the course of a 4-year term, it start off high, but then they come back down. And that's my thought process to it. Mrs. Green.
Well, I just looked at the information regarding the salaries for the past, I think, 10, 20 years that Diane gathered for us, looking at each year and the raise that the mayor got each year. There was a point of time, I believe there was like 6 or 8 years where there was not a raise. But prior to that, there was like a 1.5, 2% raise. So if you calculate that through those years that did not get that raise, currently for 2022, it would be at $78,000. You know, so that's kind of where I'm looking at, 78,000 if they continued getting those raises that were in place prior to stopping to where we're going with at 84 and then jumping up to 90. You know, just trying to get a better understanding on justification of taxpayer dollars of this increase.
But also don't forget, there was a 5% raise this year that they did not get, based off the cost of living that all of us in these chambers did accept. So you take that 78,000 or 77,000, put 5% on that, that's $700 times 5, you know, what is that? $3,500, so that would have taken them well over 80 already.
So your numbers, you say you're just over the 5, 6, 7 year span? There was just one or two?
In
1 or 2%
2015,
more?
there was a raise, a 1.5 raise from 2014 to 2015. Then it was halted at $70,487.52. So that's where it was halted in 2015. So prior to that, it was a 1.5% from 13 to 14 to 15. So that's kind of where I was just looking at calculating
But
the
everybody else
percentage
was getting
movement.
threes.
Well,
So what if
I-
you put 3 in there? 3 a year, 3% a year.
So to put that in perspective, the reason those raises were there because city council, all elected officials want a cost of living raise. So basically, we looked at COLA, whatever COLA calculated that, that's what they got. And that's why in those years, the economy was stronger, so the cost of living didn't go up as much. Whereas in this past year, the economy was weaker, and that's why we see the bigger jump. That's all that was. That makes sense. Mr. Smith?
2 points. One, again, I'm hearing constituents' bottom line. They're saying no. So I'm not moving forward for this as well. Number 2, I brought forth this fact before. President of the United States makes $420,000. There are members of his administration that makes more than he does. There are members in private business that make a certain amount, and people on the floor of those businesses make more than the people at the top.
And that will still exist at this point. Our chief of police makes $120,000 and she's trying to get the mayor there.
Yeah.
So to bring it up as a point, consistently bring it up as a point of reference, I don't understand why that keeps coming up.
You don't think it's embarrassing that your police make more than the mayor?
No. No, police put their lives on the line.
Oh, I don't question that at all. It just,
The mayor sits in office and writes legislation. One, to me, is a little bit more important than the other.
yeah,
So no, I don't think it's embarrassing, Mr. Perry.
No, I understand.
Mr. Gray?
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I just wanted to add some input. From my perspective, I said from the beginning, I think, yes, we need to be competitive with our mayor's salary. I was not in favor of doing it all at once. I think, and Mr. Lombardi came back with, I think, a reasonable compromise to split into 2 raises, which I think once that's done, that position will be more competitive. But the other thing I want to keep in mind is if there are other factors that go into the decision for an individual to decide whether they want to run for mayor for the city of Massillon, not just the salary. So, yeah, it needs to be competitive, but it doesn't need to be the top so that we necessarily attract the top person. I don't think I want a person that's coming just for the salary. I want someone that has buy-in into the community, that maybe, hopefully is from the community, that knows the community and wants to better the community. So I'm good with being competitive. I don't think we need to be at the top. And I think the compromise that Mr. Lombardi brought forth is reasonable, and so I will support it. But you know, we can get lost in the weeds and all these numbers and so forth, but the bottom line is, I want the best person from Massillon, and I think we can get that without having to beat the top payment of a city of our size. Thank you.
That is all.